One of England's biggest rivalries took centre stage when Ollie's United hosted Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. Liverpool have been in decent form whilst United have been struggling, but both still have high aims for the season. In the end, Liverpool decimated United 5-0 thanks to a Salah hat-trick, Jota and Keita. The XG showed that Liverpool created several chances and were clinical in comparison to United, whilst the XG time app showed that Liverpool were a cut above all match. But where was this match won and lost tactically? Let's take a look. And guys, I am of the formations, with Ollie initially in his preferred 4-2-3-1, whilst Klopp stuck to the 4-3-3. Let's concentrate on Liverpool on the ball and United's pressing structure. Liverpool in open play could build with a pretty standard back four, with Trent and Robertson initially deeper to provide the easy outlets for the centre-backs. And this game was won and lost early on due to United's pressing plan, or lack thereof. Ronaldo played as United's centre forward, and he's not a great presser in the slightest, which is not necessarily a bad thing. He is 36 and it has never been a strong part of his game. But usually, if a solitary forward is leading the press, they are at least able to cut out the lateral passing lane between the centre-backs to make it harder for the opposition to switch the side they're building up down, or they can stop the centre-backs having forward progression. However, Ronaldo wasn't really able to achieve either, meaning that often, Konate or Van Dijk could pick up the ball and drive forward unmarked and look to pick out a pass. And here's where Ollie could have made a decision to have the entire team sit deeper, as we've often seen him do in the past against big teams. However, despite having a poor pressing forward, United still tried to press, and a good press requires the whole team to function as a unit. So at times, Fernandes would have to leave midfield to try and assist Ronaldo in the press by pressing the advancing centre-back, creating somewhat of a 4-4-2. Defending in a 4-4-2 can be effective, especially if the forwards are compact and either press the centre-backs together or prevent entry into the midfield. But with Ronaldo not pressing, it just meant that United had one less midfielder, potentially allowing Liverpool to play into the centre. This is not ideal, especially as Firmino already often dropped into the midfield, so there could be an overload. Liverpool also made it harder for the United midfield to back up the press, as we often saw Henderson and Milner become a double pivot, whilst Keita pushed between the lines. So, if a United pivot tried to back up the press to make it harder for Liverpool, the remaining pivot would be overloaded between the lines. So, United changed the personnel in the press. It was often Greenwood who would come in off the right hand side to press the centre back and be the second forward, which would allow Fernandes to remain in the midfield, helping to ease the overload. But when attempting this riskier pressing strategy, it is crucial for the right winger to use a curved run to try and cut off the passing lane into the left back, in this case Robertson, who initially was deep as the option, but Greenwood often didn't manage this. And Liverpool could adapt, as Milner from left central midfield could remain central. But when we saw Greenwood starting deeper and sitting on Robertson, Milner could move out wide to the left to be the unmarked man and help to overload Wan-Bissaka. On occasion, McTominay was able to come out and prevent this, especially if Robertson was advancing. But on more than one occasion, Wan-Bissaka was drawn high, forcing the entire backline to shift across, leaving the centre-backs in perilous situations. We see elements of this in the first goal. Fernandes is initially drawn high to press the centre-back. Without the midfield backing this up, Henderson could have been an easy option in the pivot position, but Liverpool instead go back to Alisson. Van Dijk then receives, and Greenwood is pressing straight on from a central region, rather than out to in, so he can't cut off the passing lane, meaning that Van Dijk can easily find Robertson. Wan-Bissaka rather than McTominay backs up the press, so now Jota is free down the flank. Lindelöf from right centre-back is then dragged into the right-back position, and Maguire to the right centre-back position. When Salah receives, Shaw, the left-back, is now in the left centre-back position, meaning that there is space in the left-back position for Keita to receive, drive forward, and finish the 1 versus 1. The fourth goal shows a different side of the Liverpool build-up, Man United pressing dynamic. This time when Robertson receives, Greenwood stays out wide and presses him, but as we discussed, the left midfielder could come across to increase the overload. So with Greenwood making it a 2 versus 2 out wide, Jones, on for Milner, moves out wide. This means that Wan-Bissaka is now 2 versus 1 down, and it has a similar effect as in the first goal, as Wan-Bissaka moves onto Jota, and Lindelof has to shift across to the right back position to cover the left central midfielder. So, Maguire then moves across to Firmino into the right centre back position, meaning that when Jota receives, Shaw is also subbed in central, again allowing a man, this time Salah, to receive in the left back region to finish. Overall, this match showed the importance of a cohesive pressing and defensive structure, which United lacked. It also showed that consistently having to come from behind is not a good thing, as against better opposition, this will be impossible.